For 5.4, dividing polynomials. Before we get into this, we're going to take us back to like 5th, 6th grade when we did dividing long form. So we had 621 and we would divide. Now some of you might have done division a little bit differently, but this is how I'm going to go over dividing. We're going to, and I meant to say 672 divide by 21. So first thing I'm looking at is how many times can 21 go into 67? So 21 can go into 67 first 3 times. So I'm going to do 21 times 3. This is kind of like my work area. And that would give me 363 right here. I multiplied by 3. I have to subtract this off because since that's in the 0 format, so 2 take away 0 would give me 2, 7 take away 3 would give me 4, 6 subtract 6 would give me 42. Now I'm thinking how many times does 21 go into 42? So that would be 2. 21 times 2. 2 times 2, or 2 times 1 is 2, 2 times 2 is 4. So 42, I subtract, I get 0. So this is the 2 right here. So if I were to do 21 times 32, I would get 672. So my answer here would be 32. 672 divided by 21 is 32. Now that's the same thinking process when we do long division with polynomials. When I have this long division, what I'm dividing by goes over here, do a little loop, straight line. I have my 4x squared, so I'm starting with a square, and then I write any x's that I have. If I don't have any x's, I would write a 0x, and then I have minus 16. And it's the same thinking process as up here. First, I have to look at my x. What can I multiply x by? So it looks like 4x squared. Well, I could multiply it by a 4 and an x. So I can multiply by 4 and x. So I'm going to take that just like how we did up there. 4x times x would give me 4x squared. 4x times 5 is 20. I'm going to write my 4x squared plus 20. Now again, this is what we multiplied by, so that's going to go up top. This is where you have to be careful, because I'm subtracting. If I'm subtracting, that means I'm going to be subtracting this and switching my sign over here. So now once I switch my sign, I can add them together. I have my 4x squared minus or plus a negative 4x squared. That would give me 0. 23x plus a negative 20 would give me 3x. And then I still have my minus 16. So now I'm thinking, what can I multiply x by so it looks like 3x? I can multiply by 3. So 3, and then I multiply by what I'm dividing by. So this would give me a 3x plus 15. So this goes over here. So again, this is what I'm multiplying by. So that has to go up top. That would be where my answer goes. So I subtract it. I'm subtracting this whole thing. Subtracting something is just taking the opposite sign. So now this becomes nothing. Negative 16 minus 15, that would give me a negative 31. I can't multiply x by anything to get negative 31. So this is my remainder. And when I have a remainder, usually you write it as a fraction. Just like if I had 5 divided by 3, that's the same thing as 1 and 2/3. So this would be the same thing as negative 31, that's my remainder, over x plus 5. Right here is my final answer. Right now I want you to pause the video and I want you to try to set up your first, what it should look like. So same type of thing over here. So this is what it should look like. Your first thought process is, what can I multiply this by to get 3x squared? So I want you to come up with that now. You should have gotten 3x. So again, you multiply these two together. I get 3x squared minus 21x. 3x squared minus 21x. So again, you're taking this whole thing away. Subtracting is like switching the signs, changing to adding and then switching my signs. So now this becomes 0. This becomes negative 29 plus 21, which is a negative 8x plus 56. So this 3x, what we use to match, goes up top. Now I'm thinking, what multiplies x times what gives me negative 8? X, which would be a negative 8. So whatever I multiplied to match, that number gets multiplied. So I have negative 8x. This comes positive 56. Negative 8x, positive 56. Now, again, you're subtracting this whole thing off. Subtraction is just the opposite sign. So now this becomes 0. So my overall answer, we also use this minus 8, would be 3x minus 8. Now, when I'm looking at these two, here I had a remainder, and here I did not. Another way to think about this is, if you have a remainder, this is not a factor. Again, like 5 divided by 3. 5 is not a factor of 3. So if you have a remainder, it's not a factor. Here, there's no remainder. So that means that this is a factor. That means that's the same thing as 6 divided by 3. Well, 6 divided by 3, there's nothing left over. So that would be a factor. So I could multiply this by something to get this. So that's what I'm looking at. There's no remainder. So for this question, I'm asking, is this a factor? So first, when I set this up, I'm going to set this in long division. So I have my x squared plus 1, 3x to the fourth minus 4x cubed plus 12x squared. Right here, there's no x. I'm going to write plus a 0x. So I have x to the fourth, x cubed, x squared, x, and then my number. You have to make sure to have every term. I might not need it, but I might need it, okay? So again, first, what should I multiply x squared by? So it looks like 3x to the fourth. That would be 3x squared. I want you to try these two by yourself right now, and we will actually try both of them right now by yourself. First, you should have it written like this. You have to have all those zeros because you have to represent each degree below your highest degree. So for this first one, if you were to divide it out, you should get x to the fourth plus 2x cubed plus 4x squared plus 8x plus 16. So is this a factor? Yes, it's a factor because we have no remainder. Let's do the next one. You may have noticed that I forgot to write in my extra terms here. However, though, I wrote them down here. So if I were to write out what this was divided, it'd be x plus 5. Those are my two matches, and I got 0 here. So yes, this is a factor. So now we have synthetic division. Synthetic division, people usually find they like it more. You can only use it if you have a binomial, so two terms, and this first one is an x. Okay, you can only use it when you're dividing by something like this. So this, I would not have been able to use synthetic division. Here, I could use synthetic division. Now, some people really like synthetic division. So when I set up synthetic division, first step is setting up. You draw a box. In this box, you write the 0 of what you're dividing by. So the 0 would be x plus 2 is equal to 0. So this is x equals negative 2. That's what goes in the box. Whatever you're dividing by, the 0 of that function. Now I look at my numbers here. My leading coefficient, I'm going to write my leading coefficient starting with my highest degree. My x cubed, there's a 1 in front of there. I'm going to leave a space. X squared is a negative 14. X is 51. And the number, the constant by itself is negative 54. Notice how I'm leaving space right here. I'm going to draw a line. So when you do synthetic division, whatever this first number is, draw an arrow down, it goes below the line. So when you are when the number below the line, you take this number and you multiply it by your 0. So that's where this negative 2 comes from. 1 times negative 2 is negative 2. And then I add moving up and down. So I add whenever this is moving up and down, I add. So now this becomes negative 16. I take that negative 16 and I take negative 16 and I times it by negative 2. So this would put you a positive 32 because a negative 16 times a negative 2, multiply those two together, I get negative or positive 32. And I add up and down. So 83. Again, to get here, I take 83 times negative 2, I get negative 166. And I add those two together, so this is going to give me a negative 220. So now I have to know what to do with these numbers. So now this right here is an x cubed, okay? This original problem is x cubed. By dividing out a degree, we're dividing out 1 degree. If this is x cubed, this first number is x squared. And if this is x squared, then this one would be x. And then this is my constant, sorry, that's my constant, and this is my remainder. My overall answer is 1x squared minus 16x plus 83 plus a negative 220. And again, I'm dividing by this x plus 2 because this is my remainder. Anything left over would be my remainder. That would be my answer. So if I asked you if this is a factor, you would say, no, it's not a factor, Sunday. So I want you to try to set up your box here. Be careful when, actually, I'll just help you. So in my box was a positive 7 because that's the 0 here. And from the x cubed is a 1. There's no x squared here. You have to have a 0 there. X cubed, x squared, x constant. I want you to try to do this by yourself. Bring this down. 1 times 7 is 7. Add right here. 7 times 7 is 49. Add right here. 7 times negative 8 is negative 56. Add, it gets 0. So again, this was an x cubed. That was x cubed. I'm dividing out a degree, so this is x squared. So now I write my answer of x squared plus 7x minus 8, and there's no remainder. So if I asked, is this a factor? You would say, yes, this is a factor because there is no remainder. And there you have it. Bing, bada, boom. Have a great day.